All right, so this is something that I work on quite a bit with the guys in my private Next Gen Seduction Group. It's actually the very first thing I usually work on with anybody. It's usually developing your 2.0 version of yourself. Now, what you have to understand is that there's a way that you can act, think, and that you can move that makes you attractive to the opposite sex. It's a big reason why I am an advocate of developing a 2.0 version of yourself. So what is a 2.0 version of yourself? It's essentially somebody that, it's developing a version of you in the future that is ideal to getting the results that you want from the world around you. So what I mean by this is that you develop yourself a target. You develop it for something to shoot for. If you don't have something to shoot for, how are you supposed to reach an end goal? If you don't have clear objectives to seek out. If you're blindly moving through a fog trying to find, a point in the distance, you're going to end up going way off the point. You're going to hit somewhere else. So you have to develop like a path, a route to success. So in this, what is the path for you? What should you be looking at when it comes to a 2.0 version of yourself? Now, like I said, there's a way that people move, act, and talk and think that makes them attractive to the opposite sex. So right now, as I'm talking to you, I'm breaking forth my tone. I'm using pauses. I'm changing up the pace, the pitch, the volume. I sometimes talk a little bit quieter to pull you guys in. As a caveat to this, I'm also very loose with my body language. Now, when you're looser, when you're able to gesture and talk and speak in a way that's loose, as opposed to rigid, as opposed to maybe even being jerky or maybe not moving whatsoever. So there's multiple ways you can actually mess this up. You can either be too much in the area of being too expressive to the point to where it's supplicating, or you can be repressed. So you have to watch out for both ends. It's more right in the middle. It's the looseness. It's the loose confidence behind it, but not too much. Not so much where you're trying to be a dancing monkey. So this is a fine balance. It takes a lot of practice for somebody to figure out. What you should do first is figure out which end of the spectrum are you. Are you more repressive, or are you more goofy, try hard, supplicating? Now, understanding this, what are the behaviors of an attractive individual versus somebody that's a little bit weaker, somebody that's considered not so much? So here we go. First, pauses. Like I've been doing in this video, I'm changing up the pace and I'm adding pauses. It punctuates the words. It shows that I believe in the words that I'm saying. When you speak fast, when you speak without pauses, it says that I don't think that my time's that valuable. I think that what I have to say is not that valuable, as opposed to when you use pauses. Now, next point, changing pitch, pace. So as I'm talking in this video too, I'm changing the speed of the conversation, I'm changing the volume, I am not talking in a flat tone. I'm talking with pauses, speeding up the pace, slowing it down. Next point is talking from your diaphragm. Now from here, a lot of guys, what they'll try to do is they'll try to supplicate in little ways. So they'll talk high in their throat, or they'll talk in their nose, which makes you sound more like an engineer or a nerdy type. It's actually a way of supplicating and neutering yourself so you don't intimidate people. Because if you talk from your diaphragm, talk with power, it's an indication that you believe in yourself. And it's a very scary place to be if you're not actually in the alpha position of a tribe. You can get kicked out. You're basically fighting for dominance in a roundabout way by speaking this way. It's intimidating. So you try to cut yourself off at the balls, and you try to speak in a way that will not intimidate anybody. But by doing this, you make yourself so small, people treat you like crap. So what do? You talk from your diaphragm. This takes a long time to fix and work on because it is a very hard habit for most people. I used to talk very high in my throat, and on occasion, I still do, especially when I'm not really feeling myself. But I know I've had clients in the past where they will speak straight from the nose. It's an incredibly hard habit to break. If you do have this habit, something you can do, go like this, and when you speak, it will force you to have to talk through your throat. So every so often I had a client when he was talking to girls, he'd just go like this and just kind of like talk to her like this. It was a little bit intense, but he had a very hard time with speaking through his nose, so it was very necessary for him to do this. For you, maybe it's not so hard. Maybe it's just more takes the focus to put there, and then speak from the diaphragm. Breathe from your stomach. From here, slow, languid movements, predator movements. So when you see somebody moving, do they move like a deer? Do they move like they are at the cause, not the effect of the environment? Or do they move like they are acting upon the environment? Do they act in a way where they're not really afraid of anybody else, where they feel like they are secure in their placement? It comes from more the slow, languid movements, not the fast, jerky movements. So when you see a deer in the forest and a branch breaks, how fast does that deer's head turn? It turns on a swivel, it turns fast. In the same way, how does a lion move? How does a tiger move? Slow, languid, almost lazy in a way. So when you're talking to people, sometimes when you move a little bit slower, when you move with more deliberate movements, it changes things up completely. And there's a lot of videos on this specifically. I've seen a lot of different actors in scenes that I've had some of my female friends actually point out to me, and I might post them up right here right now as B-rolls of the guys moving in a way that actually makes them attractive. They move in a slow, languid situation. All right, now from here. Smiling, but in an inauthentic way. So there's a type of, so like I said, there's repression and there's like supplication. Repression would be like you just can't smile at all. And I have clients on bootcamp where they approach and they just, hi, thought you're cute. Like it just flat, no expression. They feel like they're afraid to show any type of personality. So they show a personality or they express themselves, then they're gonna be told off. Now, on the opposite side of things, if you're overly expressive, which is actually my problem, I would be more in the case of supplicating too much. Smiling, like smiling not because I think something's funny, but smiling because I am trying to get on the person's good side or trying to show them I'm not a threat. But that's the problem. I'm trying to show people I'm not a threat. I'm trying to show people that I'm on their side. So I found that I was smiling too big. And actually I started working on it, and then I realized that, the action feeds the ego. I starting to move more into the personality of being somebody that wasn't so afraid of what other people thought. So let's move on to the next point. Actually here, I want to make a quick point on that too, because I want to say this before I forget it. When it comes down to creating this new version of yourself, you have to focus on burning the candles from both ends. So action feeds ego or your self-identity, and then this feeds back into your action again. So the way to actually fix your mannerisms is to work it from both angles. So what you want to do is you want to change the actions. Focus on changing this. That which you focus on focuses the water that wears the stone. The more you put your attention here, the more it fades and moves away. From here as well, you want to find the mindsets and the beliefs that actually cause the action itself. From here, you work on both, and eventually over time, it starts shifting and changing until it actually starts feeding into itself. You're like, this is just who I am. And once you start believing this is just who you are, the actions become effortless. It's an extension of yourself because it is you. All right. So when you guys are like working on this stuff, start also focus on the mindsets and the beliefs and the thoughts and the emotions that actually cause the actions that make you weak. And then imagine the mindsets and the beliefs and the habits of the guy that takes on the attractive mannerisms. How does he think about himself? How does he think about himself in the environment? He probably has very high self-esteem. He probably is very loose. He probably believes very highly of himself. So when I was in the beginning of this video, I'm not gonna lie, I'm in a new city, it's cloudy, I was a little bit gloomy. I wasn't really feeling like doing this video. I was feeling like a little bit depressed, to be honest. And now that I've got myself moving and I've got myself on camera, taking the actions, now it starts feeding into itself. Now I'm back into the ego of believing in myself and having the confidence. The action feeds the ego. It's all about momentum. It's the same reason why you have to go out consistently. The same reason why you have to, when you go out in a day, the beginning usually sucks, and as the day goes on, you get more loose, more outgoing, more social, and then you can actually start taking the actions. So in the same way, just make sure you're taking the actions, but you're also focusing on the mindsets beneath the actions. Okay, so eye contact. Eye contact is one that can go either way. A lot of people are actually afraid to give others eye contact because they are afraid that they're gonna incite some kind of violence on themselves, which is never gonna be the case, not in today's world. On a rare occasion, maybe when somebody's like a little bit out of it, or they're drunk, or they're on drugs, or just pissed off at the world. But in general, it's not a big deal. People are very welcoming, especially if you give them eye contact with positive intent, as opposed to like doing it to like maybe be more belligerent. If you're doing it to be belligerent, you need to change the mindset. Everybody in the world's your best friend. This is like the mindset that drives this habit, that makes it actually work. Now, here's a really cool thing. If you wanted to, you can actually use this to pick up girls as well. You can actually approach a girl without approaching her. Give her eye contact and you eye fuck her. Now, by doing this, what guy has the balls to do this? In the same way, what about a wink as you're doing it? In the same way, this kind of stuff is like, it's a honest signal. It's an attractive signal. Nobody in today's world is capable of doing this. If you're the guy that does this, it probably means you're a badass. So this is an attractive signal. If you guys want to employ it, it's something I love doing personally, and it's a really quick way for me to kind of like, get myself warmed up, get myself in the zone, take the action of the guy that I believe I am, start getting this thing becoming a self-fulfilling, make it into get my ego on my side, essentially. They'll try to stick their chest out, they'll try to overdo like the alpha body language. That's not what you want to do. It looks very rigid, and this actually again goes back to the first point, which is like repression. So when you start taking out your chest, you start trying to act a certain way, it's repressed. It might be open body language, but it's not loose. So you want to focus on the looseness of body, because if you're loose, it's an indication that you're relaxed in your environment. You don't see a tiger or a lion have to stick out its chest and have to like flex all the time. It's loose, it's relaxed, it's chill. And that's the kind of body language you want to take on. I mean, if you're out in private or you're out in public, you're out like sitting down, like most people I see whenever they're out and about, they sit at a bench or they sit at like a table in a way that where they're worrying about what other people think about them. How about this? What if you sit the same way you would if you were at home by yourself? Like, why aren't you sitting like that? Why aren't you taking the actions that feed the ego? Why aren't you taking the actions that tell yourself that you are a certain type of person? Everywhere is your home, everywhere you're comfortable in. So from here, let's see, playing with objects. Oh, this is actually kind of something more that I do. So I just made it, this is more my, this was actually a 2.0 version I was making for myself. I wanted to figure out what were the mannerisms of a lot of my friends that I take personally that kind of make me act a certain way, and I've seen from people in my environment. I constantly play with things when I'm out and about. So like when I'm walking with, so you guys, I don't know if you guys have ever seen me do this. I do this all the time. It's mainly because what I'm doing is I'm trying to act on the environment. I play around with objects in my hands. It gets me more into an action-oriented mood, where instead of the environment acting upon me, I act upon the environment. I'm messing around, I'm playing around. I'm not really taking anything really that seriously. So when you take on this mindset, it makes it a lot easier. Now, what are some weak mannerisms? Like we said, jerky movements. Jerky movements like a prey. Those kind of movements indicate that you're not very comfortable in your environment. Breaking eye contact down, blushing, eye contact to placate. So sometimes what I'll notice is like if somebody's talking to you, a lot of guys are too quick to give their attention away. Maybe you're in a conversation. Why are you going to pay attention to the other person? If you're talking to somebody, give that person your full attention. Keep eye contact with them. If the other person's talking in your ear, this guy's already talking to you. Give him a second. And then when you get a break in the conversation, then give him attention. Why are you like placating and giving away your valuable resource of your eye contact? So it's another caveat. Again, it's like the middle ground. You got to find the middle ground for this one, wherever it is. If you're leaning to one side pretty hard, where you like placate with your eye contact, lean towards the other. But if you're leaning towards the one where you are never giving people eye contact, lean towards the other direction. Break the habit back. If you're taking like years of action, like 20 years or so, and then you're taking the same actions, obviously an ego's gonna build up around that, and then you have 20 years worth of actions that now you have to break. And the way you do that is by taking the opposite action. You gotta break it back. Rapid, monotonous pace, building rapport. Hey, how's it going? As opposed to breaking rapport, hey. High throat speech, we already talked about that. Unnecessary words or rambling, which I am classic for. That's something I do a lot. I think what do they call me now? They call it the Tangent King. Yes, I am. And nervous shifting of weight of feet. So this is something that I see a lot of clients do. They go like this because they're nervous. They try to get the nervous energy out of their body. So that they make movements not because they're trying to express themselves or because they're trying to maybe get something done, or they're taking the actions because they're nervous and they're trying to get it out in some way. So this is actually more like something you don't want to focus on so much. This is actually something you want to be focusing on more of the mindset of, the underneath. Okay, that's pretty much it for this. I gave you guys like a lot to work with. I'm also going to be probably providing some B-rolls in this of different actions I've been mentioning in this. These are the actions that will make you attractive versus the ones that won't. If you do this stuff, I promise you, your results will go through the roof. With that being said, peace.